this. I think it's working, but just
Yeah,
in case, I will use my phone. I don't trust the technology very often. All right, perfect. Awesome. All right, so thanks, Q, for this blog writing. And I think this one will be uploaded to the UNC on campus, the blog. It's very recent, like it was around before, like a couple years back, and now people want to boost that. And this post, I think, will be one of the first posts. That'll be exciting. And so, would you like kind of walk me through your background, like where did you start? I know you finished your PhD in Canada, right? Yes. And then where did you study, or where did you come from, and how did you study your graduate, and where did you go in your postdoc?
Yeah, so let me just introduce myself. So my name is Prateek Dongare. In case if you know, I know, but the viewers, they may not know. And I am currently a team manager and an editor at the Nature Communications, which is a very broad, multidisciplinary, open access journal from Springer Nature. And so before joining Springer Nature, if I go really back, so I am from India, and I did my school and other college education there, and then I moved to the Memorial University in Canada, where I did my PhD. My PhD was mainly focused on photochemistry, catalysis, investigation of catalytic mechanisms, things like that. And then I moved for a postdoc to Uppsala University in Sweden, where I had the pleasure of doing a lot of laser spectroscopy. And again, a similar way, I continued my research by using laser spectroscopy, electrochemistry for mechanistic analysis of catalytic materials. And then, as you know, then I moved to UNC for another postdoc, and there I sort of took the same chemistry, but on like heterogeneous systems. I used semiconductor oxide surfaces where you can use different molecular assemblies and make devices out of it, and so sort of moved on with the field. And after I did my postdoc in UNC, and while doing the postdoc, actually, I came across some positions in different publishing groups, and one of them was also in communications chemistry, which was just launched at Nature Research, Springer Nature. And I was lucky to meet the chief editor at one of the ACS conferences, and we talked about it, and I explained him my desire to move to publishing and the path I wanted to take and my interest. And then after that, like I went back to my postdoc, he went back to London, and then then I formally applied when the position opened up, and then I was lucky enough to be selected.
I see. So when do you decided you want to make this transition in your postdoc, or in what stage?
Yes. So when I was in my PhD, of course, I had no plans to go ahead. I thought I'd do postdoc and go to a different lab and experience a different sort of research and environment as well. But when I was doing my postdoc at UNC, and I was helping my supervisor a lot with different manuscripts and
Tom Mayer, Dr. Tom Mayer.
Yes, with Tom Mayer, yeah. And at that point, I was already interested in how publishing works and what sort of paper, say, gets in JACS, what sort of paper gets in, say, Nature Chemistry, what sort of papers, what sort of study goes to Science, and things like that. If a paper is in Nature, I want to see what is the quality of the work, how does it advance our understanding. And I was always fascinated by, big landmark research stories, Dolly the sheep and all those things. So I wanted to explore a little bit more. And when I went to different conferences, when I always go to the conferences, I meet editors and I hear
Yeah.
the stories from them firsthand. So I was very attracted. So this is how then I decided that, you know, this is something that I like and I want to do something that I like. So, and then I was lucky enough actually to work in a field which I really like. And this is how I transitioned from research to publishing.
Okay. So would you say it is very important to meet someone working in that field? And so when you approached the editors at that time, did you just talk about your research, or you also have some like a question, how does the work going on, or how do you do the work? What kind of question you were bringing on?
Yes. So when I met them, first I just wanted to meet and know what they do basically. In the beginning, like I went to socials, like there was a social organized by Wiley, and there was a social organized by Springer Nature as well. So I went to the social, and I knew all of these sort of names of these editors, you know, the ones who are the editor in chief and this, and so I thought I'd have a drink and have a chat with them and see, like, you know, where the research is and things like that. And like I really was interested in that they get to see a lot of research, different type of research, new research. So I thought it was very interesting. So, and then at that point, I just explained to them about my research background. This is what I do, this is what my interest is. And then by the time it was, the more I talked with them, the more I was interested. And then I said, like, hey, you know, I would be interested if there is something opening up. And you know, you have to apply formally, of course, for this. But I think that the communication always helps. It never hurts. Even though you can meet professors or the editors or chief editors, it was always helpful to talk to them.
I see. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. So what kind of job responsibility in your current position, like walk me through some typical day, typical week, or seasonal wise?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, I was first I started communications chemistry, which was a fairly new journal, open access journal, which is that journal. Communications chemistry, it was more specialist work, and then when I moved to Nature Communications, I have a different role because I'm not just have the editorial responsibilities, but I also have a bit of responsibilities related to team management. So I do handle papers, but not as many as the editors in the team do, because I also manage other team responsibilities such as our travel budget or ethical issues. I am also responsible for signing papers across the team. I am also responsible for recruiting new team members, new editors now, and training them as well. If there is a vacancy in the team, you know, and sort of like this, a bit of management aspect is involved, and a bit of editor aspect is involved here. So in my day-to-day, I can explain both, like what an editor's day look like and what my day looks like, because my day looks a bit management type, and the editor's day look more, I think, more exciting because they get to see the papers. But the management person has to like look at a lot of emails and like ethical issues and tricky decisions and things like that. So for an editor, you go into your office in the morning, you know. In a normal world, you want to have a coffee and, and check your emails with your coffee, and then you see, prioritize things, and based on the emails, you want to have a quick response or something that you want to forward. So anyway, you take care of your emails, and then you get onto your system, the manuscript tracking system, and then you look at, you know, again, prioritize the stuff. You know, this paper needs attention, this paper needs draft freeze, this paper needs a decision, or this paper needs an internal team discussion. So basically we organize this, we take care of the urgent cases and things like that. And after lunch, you basically also in the meantime, you have to look at, start reading papers and take care of the new submissions and try to make sense of the science presented and see if that meets your editorial bar, the presented work. And then you decide you want to send it out, approach the referees. Send it out means if you want to send it out to the referees for a peer review process, or do you want to just tell the authors that we may not be the best venue for this, and then sort of give them the decision. So this is the process works at the same time, reading new papers, processing the accepts and all that in a similar day. Basically all the day goes for an editor in this particular thing. And in between, then we have our team meetings, we have our regular catch-up meetings, journal meetings. We also have our, say, chemistry community meetings where all the journals, chemistry editors can meet from the Nature research. And then they discuss each other's editorial bar or exciting new developments. If there's something concerning in the community, if there's a feedback from the community that we need to discuss, if there are any conferences that we could go to, or as an outreach activity. So there are many things that we could get involved in this. So that's an editor's day, basically. So the editor's day, to summarize, it looks like check your emails, take care of your papers, urgent cases, also read new papers, make the decisions on them, either send them out for peer review or send the decision back to the author so they can send it somewhere else. For me as a team manager, my day starts with, again, check the emails is always the first priority. I check my emails. And then I get on to my manuscript tracking system, where the editors in my team basically send me their decisions, so that we always discuss within the team for the decision making. And I look at those, and if there's feedback I need to provide, I usually provide. If there's extended discussion, then we continue that discussion. If they have some papers where they're alone, finding a bit difficulty in making a decision, or there is a paper where some complication or a referee report has not come in. So there's a lot of things that happen, in the day. So my first half of the day goes in this, and then I have my own few papers. Then I read after lunch some of those papers, make decisions on them, processing accepts, attending meetings. Like again, as soon as you move into a bit of management, there's more meetings. So then I have more meetings, and so that way the day is pretty much gone. So not hugely a different day from an editor, but I think editor's day involves more paper reading, and my day involves a mix of paper reading and working with my team to see what they need, basically.
Take care of them. So how's the process? You review a paper, you just look at the abstract, or you have to look through all the stuff? That would take a long time, right? How do you make that decision?
We read the paper. Basically, the paper has to be read by at least one editor in the team. So they read the paper to see, one of the editor. If I am the handling editor, I will read the paper. I will try to, first of all, try to get the central core message. So what the authors have done, what are the techniques they have used, what are the conclusions? Are the conclusions consolidated? Sort of like try to catch the whole picture of the work. And then we do on then search around the literature, what sort of stuff is done in this particular field, where the field is, or if there's any related publications already there, what sort of advance this paper presents in relation to our editorial bar, and then we look at the references also in the paper. So so that involves basically going through the paper in bit detail before we make decision. I mean, I must say that it's not very technical in the beginning. It's more editorial, because we don't go into say like at the first step, I want to go and start analyzing their NMR spectra. It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would want to see more the advanced they're presenting, or if there is anything technically that pops up, and to basically make sure that yes, okay, their results are consolidated at first glance in the paper, and then we discuss internally.
I see. I'm curious, do you ever came across a paper that's basically the core research is very important, say that, but their writing is very bad? Do you reject that, or do you want to work with that?
Yeah, this is a question that we get a lot at the conferences when we go. So, so it's a very, very, common question, and I understand that there are different, language limitations in different places. But what we do is, in the beginning, if we can understand it, and if we're convinced ourselves that the referees can also understand it, the premise of the work, and most of it is like. So if they can understand it, then it's okay. We can send it out for review. But if we can see that the paper cannot convey the message and it is difficult, then we go back to the authors and ask them to basically revise it. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Basic understanding about is the very fundamental. Yeah. So what kind of the most rewarding and the most challenging part in journal editor?
Yeah, I think that different editors find different things exciting in the work. I think for me, for me, what I like is that I start, the first thing is that you get to know the new developments always. So as a postdoc, there were so many areas that I wasn't aware of in the research.
Yeah.
Now I know several areas, so which is quite interesting for me to be at the forefront actually and see the research developing. Second thing I like is that I always like, even as a postdoc, this whole journey of a manuscript. So a paper is submitted to you as a very crude article, and then you go through it, you find the referees, you analyze their comments, you basically take it from the beginning crude to the finished article, and then it's published and people cite it, and then people discuss it at the conferences, and I happen to go to a few conferences where they're discussing the paper that I actually oversee the process, and then they're discussing the little things, and sometimes so the things that you could sit there and you can feel a bit proud that I processed this paper and I know the issues with it, or problems, or things that the author solved or the referees commented. So it's really exciting to see that part also, to get the paper from zero to all the way to the finish line. So this I find very interesting and rewarding myself. The challenging part is, one of the most challenging parts is, of course, you have to turn down a lot of exciting, interesting research as well, which is which is always very challenging. People don't believe that, but it is coming from a scientific community, and with academic background. Myself, I was a postdoc, I was a grad student, so I understand how much hard work it takes to come up with a manuscript, writing and everything. So it's always a very difficult decision to decline a paper. So yeah, I think this is the most challenging part. Also, the challenging part is sometimes it's some decisions are very difficult to make because a paper is late, the referee has some personal problems and they have to go away, and we have to make a decision and authors are waiting. So sometimes these things get delayed, which are really out of our hands. And then, so I also find this a little bit challenging to manage.
You mean like the process got delayed because of some personal issue from authors?
Yeah, some issues that are like not in our control. We understand, we rely on the referees, we rely on other external factors. So sometimes things get delayed. I want to be able to send the decisions to the authors in time, and I know that like again from my own experience, we all have deadlines, so I'm always looking to work with the authors to meet the expectations. So sometimes it's difficult to keep the expectations because of the circumstances that are not in editor's hand, you know. So those could be a few other things that I find that, okay, I wish I had better control.
Yeah, the control of it. Yeah, I see. Then how do you like deal with conflicts either in your team or your team with authors? Do you come across the conflicts a lot?
Conflict, you mean conflict with the scientific community or within?
Or just, for example, just in your team, you have opinion from your team member. They agree with the paper, they don't like it. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, we're scientists. We always disagree with each other's, you know. But the important thing is that we always talk on facts. So even though there are papers that certain things that the team members like, certain things that they think, yeah, okay, this can be strengthened a little bit more. So the idea is basically to put forward the logical argument and back it up with other arguments that, okay, I see that this work is published and yes, there is an advance here, or in the similar way. So we discuss these things and we ultimately then we come to a decision. I mean, this is the beauty of science, you know, you always can argue based on the facts. So it's a bit easier this way.
Yeah, extremely useful. Because I heard, I think for a while back, I heard one of the editor work in the other journal, and she's like, sometimes she has to advocate for the paper because she thinks there's some grade in the paper, but other people don't agree. So she kind of have to stand up and fight for the paper. I found this interesting.
Yeah, it depends totally. I mean, I think that for us, we have an internal discussion system, pretty effective. I like it. So again, if we again, and for me, it's really a bit more easier because I work in the field where a lot of things are performance driven. So there are hard numbers to prove things. So then you can give the numbers also.
I
so
see.
I think it also varies from field to field.
I see. Gotcha. I see. How is that traveling part involved a lot in your job? Does it really challenge you for you or for other people?
The traveling is partly voluntary because I mean, we understand that if you don't want to go to a conference, basically, then you don't necessarily have to go there. You know, it's basically we all want to go and talk to the community, and most of us, like, you know, who are with the journal for some time, or many of us, then their name is a bit known in the community through the review process or the papers that they handle. So, you know, they like to go there and chat with the people who were actually meeting with them on a regular basis through the electronically, then go there and talk to them and get some feedback. And basically, this is what most of the editors like to go. Like I myself, I really like to go, but traveling is not very, very heavy. Yeah, not that you have to go to like each and every conference. And also our teams are really big, so we can always select the conferences based on our interest.
Based on interest.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I think traveling has never been a problem. It's not a lot, and most of the editors I know like it.
Like,
yeah,
meet new people. Yeah, that's how I like. So when you are say you are in conference, does anyone have come like approach you and talk about you so far? Is that a lot?
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, it happens, and you really like it. I mean, I really like it, that you know, graduate students or postdocs or even the faculty members in different places. They come and have a chat about some work. Sometimes they have feedback. Sometimes they want to discuss work going on in their lab, that what they are working on and things like this. So this happens, of course. And I also like go in myself and I introduce myself and talk to people. I get introduced to people through the posters. Posters I really like, because then you can actually chat one-on-one with the person standing next to the poster. So more sort of a personal interaction. So yeah, I mean, there are many ways of connecting a conference, and yeah, many times, most of the time, people come and talk to me if I'm actually presenting, like giving a talk there on publishing. Then they knows like, yeah, okay, this is the person. So this is easier.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So how did you see your career path in, say, 5 to 10 years? I mean, I don't know, because you are now a manager, now probably that'll be different for you and for other people just from editors. What do you see? How do you see about this path?
Yes. So as a manager, there's still opportunities to grow, as an editor also. I was an editor, then a manager. So basically, if you're an editor, you start as an associate editor and then you become senior editor. And then you could be a team manager or a chief editor. So for me, my position, people go on to become chief editors in the past, and then they run their own journal basically for a very long time, because many editors like that, they curate their own journal, they publish the content and they like, or the community in their community likes, have their own team. So there are different ways people can take. Some can go in maybe pure management, where you do not have much to do with overseeing research, but you can actually work on a bit more on the guidelines and a bit more on the policies and things like that. Still work closely with the editors and chief editors. Yeah.
That's really nice. So do you have any advice for people who want to start, also want to jump in this field of editor's work?
Yeah, the advice I would give everybody is, or if they want to move to the publishing world, right? If any students or early career researchers want to move to publishing, the advice would be, the best tool is connectivity. And admittedly, there was a point in my life I thought, like, why would I go and talk to this person, or why would I approach someone, or sometimes you're a bit shy, or sometimes you think that it may not happen, but every little conversation, every little interaction can teach you something. And sometimes these little interactions can actually be very useful. And especially now, connecting is very, very important for us. Talk to people. If there's someone who can share something with you that you don't know, then basically talk to them. And especially if you find someone who you think come from a field which interests you. For example, if you see an editor in a conference, and if you want to be an editor at some point, then please do connect with them, talk to them, have a coffee. Or if you want to be a PI or a professor, and if you see a professor from a university, talk to them, see what they have done, because they are there because maybe they have been to that step already and they've taken that step to go ahead. So that means they always will have something to share.
Something to share. And
I think this is a very important. For me, I find connectivity, communications very important always.
Yeah, I imagine because everyone is different, so you talk to a different person that even though they have the same job title, you still learn something different from each people, right?
Exactly. Like I think that I have, to be very honest, I have met some students
Mm-hmm.
in conferences, and I have learned something from them. Like they're just starting their scientific career, but I've learned something. Sometimes I learn their attention to the detail. Sometimes I learn their approach to a problem. Um, so sometimes maybe they're a bit more on the technology side. They know a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a window of opportunity, and I know that many of us are not that upfront, a bit shy to go and introduce yourself and talk to someone, and this happens. And if I think that if this is the case, then you may involve in a group where there is a group discussion going on, where you may not have to be the one who's holding the flag, but you can still hear what's going on. I sometimes sat on a round dinner table at a conference, for example, after conference dinner or something, and you just sit there, but other people are talking, and then you know
Right.
what they're talking about, and maybe you have then certainly something that then you can get involved in the discussion. So I think this is there are ways from which you can connect. Also, just like you connected with me through social media. This way, even if you're shy and you cannot go up front, it's always nice to just send an electronic message, which doesn't have to be direct interaction. If someone is shy, send a message, and then things tend to happen.
Yeah. Agree. Yes. And then I know some kind of curious because when you hire new member, do you want to see a certain of personality type or what kind of person you are looking for doing this job?
I mean, you of course you need someone who fits the profile and the background. I mean, if you're looking for someone to oversee the batteries papers, for example, they should have a batteries background for sure, with some experience, some publications, so they are aware of peer review process. Personality-wise, I mean, I do want to, but this is not at the stage where you see the resume. I mean, you cannot see from resume, but when I interview people, I would like to see that are they, friendly, they're able to gel with the other team members, and, what is their approaches with the other colleagues and coworkers and like that. So this is one of the things that, of course, I wanna see, someone is like is argumentative or angry or upset at the interview, then you would think that maybe they will not gel up too much with the other team members. Yeah, these are the things that you want to see at the interview. But at the first initial stage, of course, you look at the background and their experience and expertise. Yeah.
Okay. So sounds mean you need person has a lot of publication because they are more involved in the process.
They don't have to have a lot of publications. It's not that if they have 50 publications, then they are outstanding candidates.
Yes.
But they should have some experience, some publications, so that demonstrate basically that they understand the peer review process. This is what my approach is when I'm looking for new editors, because if they have not published any papers so far, for me it is that how are they going to then get familiarized themselves with the peer review process and what happens after you submit paper and things like that, and how do I know their writing skills or things like that. And of course they're going into publishing, so they have to demonstrate a little bit on their writing skills and their experience with peer review process, because that's what they would be doing.
I
So
see.
for me, this is also a little bit important to see that.
I see. Then do you want that person to also be involved in postdoc? I mean, postdoc is important, or that depends?
It depends. Actually, postdoc is postdoc is not that important. It's nice if they've done postdoc because then okay, they have more experience. But we have hired PhD right from after their PhD defense also. So it's a process once they join because we train them, the new editors always.
Does any benefit from doing a postdoc before as an editor, like independent research experience? Does there?
Yeah, there's definitely benefit because you know it just sometimes helps that they have a bit more understanding of the field if they've done a postdoc, you know, maybe a bit more understanding with the peer review process. Like I was a postdoc and I had the opportunity to handle some of the papers that my PI was handling or helping him, or you know sometimes help with the reviews as well. So it was helpful, and then I was able to use those skills into my editorial job. So it definitely it helps. But again, for us, when we're looking for new editors, it's not the most important thing that you have to have a postdoc. Yeah,
I see. Perfect. All right. I think that almost covered everything. And do you want to give us some contact information, like where we find you? What kind of information I can leave on the page?
Yeah. So I think the information would be if you could link to my Nature Communications webpage.
Yeah.
They have my profile, my email address, everything there.
Yeah.
You know my Twitter handle as well.
Yeah.
So feel free to
use that.
tag my Twitter handle. My LinkedIn also, if you want, you can leave there. It's easy to search me. My LinkedIn as well. It's very easy. So yeah, these are all kinds of information. I'm happy to connect with any of the early career researchers or any students or anyone in the community, either through Twitter or through LinkedIn, or they can go to to our website in Nature Communications and send me an email. Sometimes I get emails from people with their interest to get involved in the peer review. They want to be a reviewer, so they send me an email. This type of inquiries I also get. So for this, I'm happy to always interact with people through different medium.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for talking with me. And hopefully I will maybe see you in conference. Do you go to any conference? I guess there's no traveling plan, but now.
Now there's no traveling, but we're hoping that things open up and we like I myself, like I said, I like traveling. I like going to conferences, meeting with the authors, the referees, the students, the researchers, and everyone. So I really like it. I'm really hoping that this ends soon and we can travel safely. It's very important. Not just travel, but travel safely.
Yeah.
And be able to connect with people again.
How's it in Berlin right now? Is that very bad? The epidemic, I mean, the lockdown.
In where?
In Berlin, in your place right now.
In Berlin. The things are better here, actually.
Yeah.
I think that many things have opened up here. So yeah, the travel seems, well, things are not normal. Of course, everyone has to wear mask and keep the distance as well. But many businesses are open now.
Yeah, I'm terrified about the situation. I try to avoid getting out. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. So wait, just curious about personal stuff. You were in UNC when did you translate to other place?
I was in UNC until 2018, early
18. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I joined EFRC in 2016 or 17. And but in the beginning, I didn't really participate in the meeting very much. And at that time, I think we are separated into different groups. So probably that's why I didn't really recognize you or just missed that.
Maybe, yeah. The EFRC meetings, like they're different.